name is Wallace Bradley, and I'm the host of the Bradley Report. I'm also the president of United in Peace, Inc., and this show is presented by United in Peace, Inc. The issues that we're going to display and this special guest that I'm going to introduce to you with the things that's happening in the city and in the country. We both want to say to God be the glory that Trump didn't get killed. And we both believe that there's no room for violence in politics. Okay? The name of the game is get your vote on.
Yes.
Get your vote up. But I was at an event that Congressman Danny Davis gave over at Malcolm X, right?
Yes.
And at that event, it was called the Fellowship Raising Our Sons to Men. We had Rhyme Fest was there. This brother was there. So it was two wordsmiths. And Rhyme Fest let us know why him and Common wrote the song Glory. There was they got an Oscar for it.
Yes, they did.
And my viewing audience, you need to know that Ryan Fest and Kanye West wrote the song Jesus Walk With Me. So this brother is just as spiritual as me. You know what I mean? And we believe in getting the word out the right way. But before I go any further, let me also let you know that this show is produced and the issues that's being displayed come from the chairman of United in Peace, Inc. And her name is Terry Marsh Bradley, and she's also my wife. So, my brother, introduce yourself to my viewing audience and let them know who you are and what you do.
Well, thank you, Gator, for this opportunity.
Man,
Can I call you Gator?
Yeah,
Is
Dr.
it all
Gator,
good?
man.
Oh,
Dr.
okay.
Gator. Or you can call me Mr. T.
Dr. Gator.
Yes, sir.
Motivated G, O-N-E-M-I-C, for my Lord and Savior, G-O-D. My name is George Salter, and I'm just blessed to just be a part of what you're talking about, because that piece that we met on as it relates to Congressman Danny Davis and the fellowship of raising our sons to men, that's a powerful thing, and that's something that we need so much of. And just to see the fellowship and the camaraderie and all the things that go on to make a community click, to connect, I was just blessed to be a part of that.
You know, that's the one thing about Congressman Danny Davis. He stayed connected culturally, spiritually, as well as politically to the community.
Yes, he does.
And he gave so much knowledge why not Martin Luther King, but Malcolm X University ended up there.
Yes, he did. He laid it out.
He laid it out. The input that he had to make it happen.
Yes.
You know, in 2020, everyone was trying to make sure that everybody get counted.
Yes.
For the census.
Yes. Yes.
You know, and you played a serious part in there with your wordsmith. Ship, if that's the correct word.
Okay.
Of what you do.
We'll go with that.
Or you're rapping in your flow.
Lyricist, whatever you want to call it.
Okay. I give you got doctor. You a doctor too, man. You know.
Oh man.
I got something I want to show you. Sister Monty, could you play that piece?
Let me call up Nike, they know all he shoot is movies.
Phone is ringing. Why don't you pick up the call? You ain't that busy. Stop. all. Could it be my boys on the coat on the ball? Go toe to toe, hear the whistle blow, yo. He just acting, yo. What's the charge? Guilty or pushing too hard? I was ballin', flossing and stalling, looking at your ID, try to see who call and collect. I don't care who got next. This ain't no show, but show enough connect. This ain't no show, but bend in your neck. Email, open up and check. You got mail, best you accept. Phone is ringing. Why don't you pick up the call? You ain't that busy. Nah.
The Census 2020. It is our mission to educate, encourage, and engage to ensure that everyone is counted once and only once and in the right place. Why is the census important? Number one, to properly allocate federal funding. That's $675 billion in federal funding for housing, Medicaid, Medicare, roads, hospitals, and more. Number two, $1,800 in funding is missed per person that goes uncounted. Get counted, get allocated, get money.
Stop the stalling, y'all. Phone is ringing. Why don't you pick up the call? You ain't that busy. Nah. Had a full plate on the call, never wait. Why now take something I can later make? Truth is, everybody got excuses, doing their own thing. They just let the phone ring. So busy off the hood, waiting stop if the ground shook. So much pain when you going against the grain. Don't you know that there's comfort in his name? Simple to blame, but name calling you back in the frame. Phone is ringing. Why don't you pick up the call? You ain't that busy. Stop the storm.
You know, seeing that, I know it brought back memories to you, man. When you told me, and you was popular, I said, man, let me let my viewing audience know that hip hop has been around for 50 years. But I'm older than him. He just happened to have to be it. You know, could you tell my viewing audience about you producing this?
The song Answer the Call, believe it or not, is close to 14, 15 years old. And that hook, phone is ringing, why don't you pick up the call? It was about picking up the call and answering it when you're busy doing something else you want to do that you think is more important. So when the census came around, and thank God for Mr. Dew over at Habilitative Systems and the leadership at Above and Beyond, because that's where I was working at the time, we were blessed to be part of an umbrella of companies that was under the leadership of Habilitative Systems. And they let this fly as something to promote people picking up the phone, because the census was all about getting counted.
Right.
And if there's an initiative that's happening on the phone and we're calling out to you, but you see the ID and you don't want to pick it up,
Pick up the phone.
pick up the phone.
And you know,
and that's where it came from.
that census count is so important. Like let my viewing audience know. We know.
Yeah.
Every 10 years they have the census.
Yes, they do.
And it dictates how much money is coming to a particular area. It dictates the various legislative, from the state rep to state senator to the automatic wards.
Yes.
It let you know how many people supposed to be at this area. So you got to be counted.
Yes. Yes.
I got another piece, because I know that you are issue-orientated rapper and a conscious individual to issue that's very important.
And what's that?
Voting. That's what Congressman Davis was talking about when he shared with us the significance how this election is very, very important. And I'm going to show this next piece to my viewing audience and especially to you.
Okay.
And hopefully, after you see it, you'll use your wordsmith. You'll use your rapping game.
Call it what you
call
want.
it what it is,
Call
man.
it what
Call
you
it what
want.
you want.
We'll-
Hey, man, because Gil Scott-Heron was down like that, right?
We'll
you know
see.
what I mean?
We'll see what God, the Holy Spirit,
That's what
allows
I'm
me
talking
to
about.
do.
That's
All
what
right?
I'm talking
Okay.
about. That's
All
all
right.
I ask. To God be the glory.
Yeah.
And we ask of that of you through your son.
One, it's 4 o'clock in New York. We have a lot of news to get to today. It is day 2 of the Republican National Convention, and a whole host of Trump's now defeated rivals are expected to speak tonight to address the convention. In a few minutes, President Joe Biden is expected to take the stage at the NAACP convention in Las Vegas. We'll bring that to you live in its entirety. But we begin this program with a quote. It goes like this, quote, "What Trump offers is an easy escape from the pain. To every complex problem, he promises a simple solution. He never offers details for how these plans will work because he can't. Trump's promises are the needle in America's collective vein." Now, those words were not uttered by a Democrat. They were not uttered by any one of the many thoughtful critics in both parties of Donald Trump in the press. They were uttered by the man who now stands beside Donald Trump on the 2024 Republican ticket as his running mate. J.D. Vance is now casting his sharp, unsparing criticism of Donald Trump, things like calling him a, quote, cynical a-hole or, quote, America's Hitler, as a result of brainwashing he was subjected to by the media. Really. Here's how he tried to explain it on Fox News last night.
I was certainly skeptical of Donald Trump in 2016, but President Trump was a great president, and he changed my mind. I think he changed the minds of a lot of Americans because, again, he delivered that peace and prosperity. If you go back to what I thought in 2016, another thing that was going on, Sean, is I bought into the media's lies and distortions. I bought into this idea that somehow he was going to be so different, a terrible threat to democracy. It was a joke.
And what are voters to make of someone so susceptible to TV? An Earth 2 answer from an Earth 2 candidate encapsulating everything you need to know about who J.D. Vance is now and where the MAGA movement is heading as well. Liz Cheney puts it like this, quote, J.D. Vance has pledged that he would do what Mike Pence would not do, overturn an election and illegally seize power. He says the president can ignore the rulings of our courts. He would capitulate to Russia and sacrifice the freedom of our allies in Ukraine. The Trump GOP is no longer the party of Lincoln, Reagan, or the Constitution. If this new GOP's governing agenda is the 900-plus pages that make up Project 2025, filled with calls to purge the civil service, turn the justice system into the president's personal police and retribution force, enact a hard-right agenda on LGBTQ+ rights and abortion, then J.D. Vance is its leading evangelist. In a profile of Vance in Politico, Steve Bannon says that he is, quote, at the nerve center of this movement. Politico adding this, quote, Bannon even suggested that Vance could become the St. Paul to Trump's Jesus, the zealous convert who spreads the gospel of Trumpism further than Trump himself ever could, end quote. And here's how the president of the Heritage Foundation reacted to news that Vance had been chosen to be the Republican nominee for vice president.
Okay. We have confirmed news that Senator Vance is the vice presidential running mate. You will see a broad smile on my face because you may know that we're good friends. I will offer 2 comments about that. The first is the entire list of names considered are great men and women, truly, truly, all of them friends of Heritage. There, among them, though, was someone that privately we were really rooting for, and he's just been named the running mate.
So the guy that Heritage was, in their own words, really rooting for, Trump went with that guy. The Republican vice presidential candidate's transformation from hard Trump critic to hard right authoritarian culture warrior, and what it says about the future of the GOP and the future of this country should Trump and Vance prevail is where we begin today with some of our most favorite reporters and friends. In Milwaukee at the RNC, NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard is back with us. Also joining us, MSNBC political analyst, Democratic strategist Cornell Belcher is here. With us at the table, host of MSNBC's Politics Nation, president of the National Action Network, the Reverend Al Sharpton, is with us. Also joining us, former RNC spokesman, host of the Bulwark podcast, MSNBC political analyst Tim Miller's here. Rev, Jesus has been invoked. I'll go to you first.
Well, I think that if not directly, it borders on being sacrilegious. I mean,
Borders.
I'm trying to be nice. It's blasphemous, really, to say that Trump was Jesus and J.D. Vance was Paul is absolutely an insult to everybody that believes in the Bible. Let's start there. But to look at the fact that Heritage were the ones that sponsored and authored Project 2025, that Trump claims he knows nothing about, had nothing to do with it, but he chooses their candidate to be the vice president. I think the real headline today is that Heritage has admitted this is their candidate. He's the one they wanted. They did the 900 pages that would really undo the democratic process in this country, and they have their candidate as the vice presidential candidate for the this cycle. And the fact that Trump, with all of his denying he knew anything, he accepted their candidate. And I think that is something we should not run away from too quickly.
Tim.
Yeah, I guess I want to build on that. I could do 2 hours on the political of J.D. Vance and his hypocrisy and all his quotes.
We've got exactly that much time.
Yeah, we could do it all. But I think the most important thing to think about is J.D. Vance as governing partner of Donald Trump, because it is extremely alarming. It's the most alarming person that he could have chosen on the short list of people that were in the mix. J.D. Vance is not going to be brakes on Donald Trump in the Oval Office, God forbid if he gets in there on any of his crazy ideas. A lot of times people that tried to be brakes, last time were just bowled over, but still a brake is better than a gas pedal. J.D. Vance went along with all of Donald Trump's most ostentatious, anti-conservative, just common sense policies and thoughts, the vaccine denialism, full bore on January 6th, full bore on election denialism, full bore on blaming Joe Biden for the Putin invasion of Ukraine and siding with Putin. So if you just think about the domestic policies when it comes to the border and Donald Trump's heinous plans there, J.D. Vance will be fully on board with all of that across a wide range of issues. All of the anti-democracy elements, J.D. Vance is going to be somebody that is his wingman and says yes to the things that he wants to do that flout in the face of the rule of law. And I think that's extremely scary.
One of the stories that broke Saturday before the assassination attempt on Donald Trump is the kind of story that might have shaped a week of conversations, right? It was a Jim Rutenberg, Nick Corsinati story, Von Hilliard, about the plan to overturn the 2024 election and make sure that it cannot be certified. And I know you were there with Mike Pence when he was cast in this role 8 years ago. This is, for Donald Trump, another casting. There's no evidence that's come out that it's something much different than that. I wonder, in your view, the importance of what Liz Cheney points out about J.D. Vance, that on this one thing, this one line, this single line that we ever found out about, there may have been others, but none that we ever found out about, the single line that Mike Pence wouldn't cross in service of Donald Trump was overturning the 2020 election. This is a line J.D. Vance would barrel through.
And J.D. Vance, I think, was interestingly asked the same question by Sean Hannity last night that Mike Pence was asked 8 years ago, which I talked about on your show yesterday. And that was, on the day that they were selected, how would you, in a moment in which you disagree with Donald Trump, how would you handle that? And Mike Pence 8 years ago responded that he'd go and share his disagreements with the president behind closed doors, but then walk out shoulder to shoulder and stand by the president in solidarity. And Mike Pence did that every single day until January 6, 2021. J.D. Vance last night, he said that he'd go behind closed doors and he'd discuss it with the president. He stopped short of going further than that. But I think that is where the question comes as to, for 4 years, how would J.D. Vance ultimately maneuver his way through in that capacity as being the right hand of Donald Trump? And when you were to get to potentially 4 years from now and the act of certifying in the election, of course, it's a serious question here. And I think that, for J.D. Vance, I think much like Donald Trump Trump takes credit for saving Mike Pence from, as Donald Trump liked to say, Mike Pence was going to lose his re-election bid for Indiana governor back in the day if it weren't for him picking him as VP. You hear the same thing from Donald Trump now, and J.D. Vance gives him that credit, that in 2022, when he ran for the U.S. Senate in a crowded Republican primary in Ohio, he helped win him the seat with that endorsement, and J.D. Vance gives him the credit. And then he helped him win the general election. And so in a lot of ways, Donald Trump takes credit for J.D. Vance being politically where he is right now. And the question is, just how far could J.D. Vance go to ultimately ensuring that Donald Trump is able to execute exactly what the vision is, or the extent to exactly how much do they share the same vision? Because I think that, as Tim was just outlining, in a lot of ways, J.D. Vance publicly is right alongside in terms of policy, domestic and foreign policy, with the president's position, with the former president's positions.
Cornell, there is palpable.
You know, man, just watching that and listening,
Yeah.
it's important that people understand that they can't just leave it to elected officials. They got to do their part, just like what you did with the census. If you were to give them a word of guidance through the way that you spell, what would you say?
Well, it's very interesting that those of you who are at home, you're looking at this in your home, and I'm in the studio. But if I was at home with my wife and daughter, I would say it like this off of the top of the dome, because the heritage that they're speaking about is not the heritage that our people are about, because we want to vote for a better land, because it's good and plenty when there's more flavor when many. Between whatever the ages are, we got to go much more farther and not go back, because what this guy is talking about, I'll go to the old school and just say that's whack, but I'm not going to really get into the politics. I'm just going to get into the life of it. When you're taking things from us that our forefathers fought so hard to get, and now you want to erase it? Come on, man. Trump, you got to set down some things, because the things that you're talking about are alarming. And I know that what is on my heart and what is in my head, hey, if I go to the Bible and read what it said, it ain't going to say nothing about what you said, because God is my motivator and not you, because you got to remember what he did in terms of how he created time. See, on the first day of work, he made the heavens and the earth. And day 2, he separated H2O. Trump don't know how high the sky go.
Right.
Day 3, he made the land and the sea. It was one sea getting loose. Vegetation is the product. Trump don't got no fruit. Day 4, he had to add something more, God and light for the sky at night, and a bigger one to keep the day bright. See, he did what he should, and it was all good. And this Trump that they talking about, ooh, tell me, come on, man. I'll give the mic back to you, because it's your plan.
Hey, well, I can say it's God's plan, because one thing that's in that scripture too.
What's that?
God is a jealous God.
Vengeance is his.
Right, and for this man to feel that he wants to be a God-like character, not a God-fearing character, is whack. I got one more thing I want you to see, so everybody can know about what our mayor is doing, because you know politics is local too.
Yes, it is.
Sister Amani, could you play that piece about the mayor?
The most of nearby green space, while the owner of the nonprofit school, which focuses on trauma-informed learning, is eager to return the rest of the building to use for students, a year after flooding caused the roof to collapse. Crystal Kiles says she's had to turn away families without the extra space.
I try to be numb so I won't be in pain about it, and just try to make sure that we're doing the best we can with what we got, with who we can work with.
Kyle says she is still waiting for an SBA loan and has had to slow repairs without help from programs available for residential buildings. Today, Mayor Johnson announced more help for residents, mainly seniors, impacted by last summer's floods.
We know that there's still much work to be done, and that's why I'm proud to announce today that my administration the Department of Housing, we have secured an additional $5 million for the Flood Assistance Repair Program.
This program is a vital step in ensuring that our residents, especially our seniors, can live safely and comfortably in their homes.
The program is expected to help about 200 residents, while the Westside Long-Term Recovery Group continues to collect names of residents who need remediation and renovation. Their current list has about 400 homeowners who need help.
I thank you for what you've done, but we need more done at my house and some of the others.
Because it's needed. It's been well past needed, but I'm just glad that we're able to start somewhere.
We visited some residents earlier this month who have mold growing after last summer's flood. Residents do not need to apply for the new city funds, as the city is working with local organizations to connect with seniors. While this assistance will be appreciated by those who get the help, there are more residents and businesses.
You know, thanks for that spiel, man.
Oh.
That spiritual
To
spiel.
God be the glory.
I ain't no question.
To God
You
be
know,
the glory.
I want to say when people work together, our elected officials got to work together to serve the people. That's what we just witnessed with what the mayor has done. And he got the help from Congressman Danny Davis. He got the help from the alderman. But what's important is that the people came together to convince all those elected officials, no, they got to come together in order to serve the people. I want to say this. I want to say, to God be the glory.
Yes.
And y'all heard this brother's story. And my story is this. Get out and vote. Don't choke. To God be the glory. That's our story. Thank you.